No matter who wins, we'll have chills. Welcome to WatchMojo, and in this installment of Versus, we're engaging in TV combat with the Twilight Zone versus American Horror Story. For this list, we're comparing the original run of the Twilight Zone to American Horror Story to see which grabs the crown as the most iconic sci-fi horror anthology. Round 1. Stories. The tales from Rod Serling's seminal Twilight Zone are iconic.
There's a man out there, or a gremlin, or...
Some stories, moments, and characters are so recognizable that even those who haven't seen the original show know them instantly by sight or description. How about Talking Tina, the original killer doll?
My name is Eric Strader, and I'm going to get rid of you.
You wouldn't dare.
Or the broken glasses and cries of It's Not Fair. Whether the monsters are due on Maple Street or there's something on the wing of the plane, these tales have become an indelible part of the cultural zeitgeist of the West. All this from a show that aired over 60 years ago. The stories live on with us. The stories of American Horror Story have their shock factor for sure, and get their share of internet buzz with each new season's release. However, outside of the fan base, the plots are not well known to the public.
I thought I told you to throw that thing away. Oh, you're not talking? Well, I'll give you points for creativity.
Relying on a core concept, each season plays in its own subgenre of horror, and can be broadly described with those categories, slasher, ghost story, dystopia, etc., without losing too much in the way of material. While the first season Murder House generated a lot of attention, it was mostly for the awesome shock value the show provided. And while new viewers will surely be as engaged as the original audiences, we're gonna have to go with the old school tales. Winner, The Twilight Zone. Round 2. Format. The Twilight Zone works like a series of short stories. Each episode is its own standalone tale and wraps up within its roughly half-hour time slot.
Portrait of a Bush League Fuhrer named Peter Vollmer, a sparse little man who feeds off his self-delusions.
As an additional bit of drama, the show's creator, Rod Serling, introduces and closes out each episode. In his trim gray suit, and with his detached, observant narrating style, he provides the audience a glimpse through an open door to the uncanny valley of each tale. The setup makes for tight, lurid storytelling.
1 month ago, the Earth suddenly changed its elliptical orbit, and in doing so began to follow a path which gradually, moment by moment, day by day, took it closer to the sun.
Of course, it also means the audience has limited time to become invested in the characters or plot. By contrast, the long-form anthology format had never really been done in this manner in the US, or so successfully on television before American Horror Story.
What can you tell me about the occupant in room 64?
That room's vacant.
You mind if I take a quick look?
Oh, be my guest.
Each season is a contained story, with the next season bringing in a new plot and new core theme, while bringing back the actors for new characters and roles.
The patients, 4 of them, including Willie last night, have disappeared under your supervision.
They died.
That's it, period.
This exciting format, which allows writers and showrunners to stretch out and keep things fresh at the same time, has now been mirrored all over the place, in particular in horror. The idea of one full season to tell a big-budget story was genuinely innovative. Winner, American Horror Story.
I saw them get out of the ice cream truck. They just stood there and stared at me.
Round 3. Plot twists, twist endings. The twists of the Twilight Zone are legendary. Like EC Comics' Tales from the Crypt, which had risen and fallen in the first half of the 1950s, the Twilight Zone endings are generally ironic or serve up a heap of just desserts.
It is essential in this society that we not only have a norm, but that we conform to that norm!
Episodes like Eye of the Beholder, The Invaders, and To Serve Man are so well done that even modern audiences will find themselves surprised and shocked by what's around the corner. Well, if The Simpsons hasn't already tipped them off.
Listen, you big, stupid space creature. Nobody eats the Simpsons.
And of course, the Twilight Zone features stories written by some of the great genre writers of the 20th century.
Oh, a colony is coming. But it's from Venus. And if you're still alive, I think you'll see how we differ.
The twists of American Horror Story can be big, and even downright gruesome, but in keeping with the chaotic feel of the show, sometimes also a bit out of nowhere.
You died crying. I held you. You were safe. You died. Love.
The twists frequently go for the shocking rather than ironic, keeping the audience on its toes as the show's creators continue to see just how far they can go and can be allowed to get away with on television.
I think I made a wrong turn.
I see you found my little hobby.
However, one of the great joys of a well-executed twist ending is cleverness, which a shock doesn't need to rely on to be successful. So we're going old school. Winner, The Twilight Zone. Round 4, Scares. The Twilight Zone was, at its time, considered a very spooky show. We still use the term Twilight Zone to describe something uncanny or mysterious.
Huh? That's weird. It's like something out of that Twilight-y show about that zone.
However, perhaps unsurprisingly, the 60-plus-year-old scares don't always quite hold up. It was a different era, and this is basically much tamer stuff than desensitized modern audiences can now handle being broadcast into people's living rooms.
And you keep thinking bad thoughts about me.
There are still some very chilling ideas. The little boy who sends people to the cornfield, or the woman pursued by the relentless hitchhiker, for instance, but nothing folks these days might consider truly, utterly horrifying.
I believe you're going my way.
Horror, on the other hand, is the bloody bread and butter of AHS. And we do mean bloody.
Caesar!
Scares run the full gamut of the horror spectrum. Jump scares, gore, body horror, creeping dread, haunting visuals, you name it. American Horror Story is apt to go there. From makeup to effects to plots, things can get twisted enough that even ardent horror fans might have to look away. Hey, it is called American Horror Story. It does what it says on the box. Winner, American Horror Story. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Round 5, Cultural Impact. Rod Serling's influential show has been parodied, copied, and loved for years. While it was not the first sci-fi horror anthology of its kind on either television or radio, the reach of The Twilight Zone has extended into film, TV, art, and music.
Everybody, there's a monster on the side of the bus!
Stylish and clever, the show has lived on in several incarnations, spawning an entire media franchise. Its third iteration lit up screens of a whole new generation in 2019, hosted by comedy and horror auteur Jordan Peele.
In his final moments, Justin Sanderson made the case that he did everything he could to avert disaster. But in the end, he was an investigative reporter unwilling to investigate himself, until it was too late.
Its influence can be seen in many other shows and movies following similar formats, including, well, American Horror Story. The Twilight Zone does have half a century or so on American Horror Story, so it's hard to compare. But we're pretty confident about a few things. Where AHS seems primed to achieve a well-earned cult status by the end of its run, its current cultural impact just isn't there in the same way as Serling's opus. While AHS did help to shift horror TV in a bolder, edgier direction at the beginning of a decade that would fall in love with horror all over again, it still owes a lot of its setup to The Twilight Zone.
Technology is what destroyed the world. Social media gave people the illusion they were equal. But that's all been swept away.
And so, we have our final destination. Winner, The Twilight Zone. Did we pick the right winner? Let us know which show you think is best in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to WatchMojo for more intense versus battles.